Martin, speaking to you from Abridge Village Church. And I've got a few reflections on the Bible story for this Sunday, the 8th of August. This week, in our Gospel story, there's yet more bread talk from Jesus. It seems that the famous miracle of the loaves and fishes just goes on giving more and more. And not just more bread and fish like in the miracle, but more and more insights, more and more spiritual depths. This wasn't just a marvellous one-off miracle, but a really significant sign. And one that the Gospel writer John is particularly taken with. You see, he was there, he remembers, and he devotes a whole section of his book to this story. Right at the start, he gives us a clue why. He writes this: it was Passover time, the days of unleavened bread, the Jewish festival of freedom, remembering when they baked bread in a hurry, ready to escape slavery in Egypt. It's the meal that Jewish families celebrated in their homes every year as they broke the bread together and they remembered. But for John, it was more. This is his commentary on the Last Supper, that moment when Jesus identified himself with the bread. He said, "This bread is my body. This broken bread is my broken body. This bread that recalls freedom is my body that brings forgiveness." Now, we shouldn't underestimate how shocked and confused the crowds were when they heard Jesus describing himself as bread to be eaten. After all, what would you think if someone you knew suddenly started saying, "I am a bread that's alive and you need to eat me"? Was this some sort of primitive cannibalism that he was advocating? Indeed, the first century Christians would be accused of just that when stories of communion reached the pagan authorities. It was shocking. It was a disturbing claim. As C.S. Lewis observed, the words of Jesus are either the words of a madman or maybe a bad man, but they could be spoken by a true man, someone telling the truth, the most amazing truth ever. You can hear the crowd struggling with this very dilemma in the dialogue that John records. We know him, he's from Nazareth, he's Joseph's boy, but now he's going mad, perhaps he's turned bad, and yet he says such amazing things and does such wonderful things. Surely he's not a con man, he's not mad. So does that mean that what he says is true? This is the question that has faced people all through history when they've taken Jesus' words seriously. He forces people to make a choice, the crowd then and each one of us now. The gospel doesn't allow us to sit on the fence. And Jesus wouldn't let them sit on the fence either. God was drawing them, he said, to the truth so that Jesus could raise them up. He's come down from heaven where he has seen God, in order to lift them up into a new experience of God, to introduce them to the assurance of heaven right now, to bring them into the truth of a new covenant where everyone, yes, everyone, can know God's words and God's presence for herself or himself. This wasn't just for a few spiritual sorts, for religious experts, for trained theologians. It's what the scriptures promised. Jesus is the one to whom all the prophecies point. He's the unleavened bread of the Passover. He's the mysterious manna in the wilderness. He's the bread that comes down from heaven. His is the life that can feed the whole world. He is the one who can lift us up, whatever our situation, however low we've sunk. Jesus tells them and us, "Whoever eats of this bread will live forever. And the bread I will give for the life of the world is myself, my body, my flesh and blood." This is either crazy, scandalous and dangerous, or it's the best news ever for the human race that lives in the shadow of death, longing for something more, something that will last. Christians are those who have decided that what Jesus said is true. They believe it. They've discovered the truth in their own experience now. I wonder on what side of the fence you will come down.